Hello, beautiful hearts. Thank you for being here today as well with Hamish. Thank you, Hamish, for your presence. Today, I feel to talk about boundaries. Many are afraid when they hear about boundaries, and others thinks is something negative, and other people live happier, healthier when they have their own boundaries. So, what are boundaries? And today I will talk with Hamish and we will go into it to find out what are boundaries. So, thank you, Hamish, for being here. Tell me how you see boundaries in your own life experience, where you put them, where you was aware of them, but they was stepping over your experience.
Hi, Juliana, and it's good to be back with you again. This is another one of my favorite topics, boundaries. Boundaries for me are 6 years old. I only met them when I was in rehab. I had never heard of them, never met them. I suspect they were in my life in some ways, but I had never met them. Um, but they are what is acceptable to me and what is not. I think a boundary is, if you're going to bully me, if you're going to be horrible to me, I don't have to put up with that. So basically, that boundary is you will not talk to me like that. You will not oppress me like that. You will not disrespect me like that. So I think very simplistically, that's my understanding of boundaries. And they're there to protect me, you, oneself from other people's arrogance, charm, seduction, bullying, bullshit, nonsense stuff. That is not okay to yourself. I think it's as simple as that.
Exactly. Yes. Boundaries is healthy. It's the best things we can do for ourselves. We need to have boundaries with our partners, with our parents, with our kids, because that's the line that is showing to us and to the other person, here is where you can stand. You don't step over and you don't abuse my own space. I also don't know what was boundaries, and I was like, what's that? What's that to have boundaries? Yeah, something, what you accept, what you are not accepting. And this is actually 2 years ago, I think, when I hear about boundaries, and it's like, okay, what I'm accepting, I don't know. I'm just like an open book, and I let everybody be who they really are, as you said, till I realize that I don't need to accept people's BS, to accept how they are. Yes, I accept them how they are, but there also need to be a line until how much I accept for that person. So what I observed through my own experience, actually putting boundaries, we are protecting ourselves energetically as well. We get our power back. We feel more confident with the self, in ourselves, by putting boundaries. And to put those boundaries, we have to know what is our line until where. But that means also to be more close to ourselves. What I am yes with and what I am no with. In the beginning, when we learn to put boundaries, it's hell. It's not funny. Even you feel like a creepy, did the worst thing ever you did in your life because you put boundary, because you never did that, and when you are doing it, you feel bad. When I say bad, you feel like really discomfort, as if it's not okay. But that's the beginning. Because because it's so healthy for us That's why it also feels so weird in the beginning to put them, because it's like, hey, you don't come here in my room when you want and how you want. You have to knock on the door, and it's up to me if I answer to you. But it's hard, to be honest, in the beginning, when people are used to be with us in a specific way. And then we find out, oh, I need to put boundaries here. Boundaries for me is a protective way, emotionally, energetically, and to this whole beingness that we are. It's really important.
So why then did you get uncomfortable when you started putting up a boundary? What was the reaction you got from other people?
People that are not used with boundaries, they will start to stare at me like, where this come from? Where suddenly this come from? So for people, it seems something weird that I did something that I'm not usually doing it. Like, where you come with this now? And it feels weird because we see the reaction in other people, and then it's automatically try to question myself, because this is in the beginning, did I put the feet on the right place or not? Like baby steps, and then feel comfortable there, and then one more step. So that's my experience, where I have to learn how to speak up, because to put boundaries is not easy. Yeah, you just know it's not easy. It's actually speaking up for yourself. And when people are used to step over and to make fun of stuff, and suddenly you come with this, it's tough in the beginning.
Okay.
And I observed that by seeing others people's reaction, I start to question myself, if that it's okay what I did or not. But then I felt in my own beingness, and I felt that it was the right thing. It felt good in my body. It felt like, hey, I am the boss in my own life. Like, come on. So this empowerment, this what I start to follow, how it's make me feel, not my mind take over and tell me, have you did the right things? Normally you don't do this, and look how they are reacting. No. I try to focus in, and if that feels me empowered, like I own my own life, I am in my own life, then I did the right thing. That's how I felt a challenge in my life, to put boundaries. And sometimes we don't know where are our boundaries. Boundaries the only things that can help me not to detach, but to separate for my clarity of mind and emotions. That's what I can say. It's helped me to be more clear with my energies, with my emotions and my thoughts. Yeah.
Okay. So it's a bit of self-respect. It's a bit of saying, let's say your partner leaves their clothes around and you're always tidying up after them, and then the boundary could be just saying to them, put your clothes away. What would be the immediate reaction if that's what they were used to? Let's start with that. Let's do a role play. I'm your typical bloke. I leave my clothes lying around. I get back from work, leave them on the floor, and I'm used to my partner picking them up, putting them away after me, and this, that, and the other. How would she put a boundary in, and what am I likely to do if she suddenly changes that status quo that I'm used to, where I'm lazy and she just tidies up around me?
When she speak up, to pick up your own clothes, to put it where they're supposed to be, of course, the partner will start to look weird a little bit, like what it is. She never did that before. And if the partner not listening that the woman have this request, is also showing disrespect towards her, because it's like, I don't care what you want, I will still throw out my underwear on the floor. And but that's disturbing me to walk around and to get stuck in this underwear every day because you throw out them. And I see them as a respect from men to listen to woman when she requests a simple things. You are not a child. You can put your clothes in the washing machine yourself. You can take care of that. But when the men come with some comments related with those clothes, that says a lot about their disrespect towards her and towards himself and relationship. Because that's mean he had an expectation that the woman will clean up the house, will pick up his clothes, and will do all this. If this is not listen, it's the woman's choice what she wants to do. So I see it as such in this situation. Disrespect.
I like that. Okay, so I'm now told to put my clothes away, and it's just like, well, yeah, that's your job. Why is that difficult for usually for the woman to do that? What is she having to say about herself? And again, you can turn this around. It's men as well, isn't it? But in this
Yeah.
case, let's leave this. Why is she finding it difficult to say what she wants and feel what she wants and to change that dynamic?
Because mostly of women are used from the family. In my own family, the woman has to make food, clean up the house, take care of the house, and this is her job. And it's so much related with how we have been growing up and with the patterns that we carry. When the woman starts to waking up to her own senses, to know more of who she is and love herself, respect herself, then she have a lot of requests from a man. But those requests are equally with her value. So to speak up in this situation, it has to overcome the patterns that we have been created to the years. I saw in my I saw in my family when my mom always pick up, she never comments. My father, yeah, we are not in that time. So for women is so much related with these patterns. When we walk on the same road and suddenly we realize, oh, I need to change the road. It will be like in the jungle, we need to cut off to make the way to the new path. Which path? To put boundaries, to say what I need, what I want, and this and this and that. So the difficulty is to overcome those beliefs. Automatically grabs as that as the truth, and then we walk, yeah, but that's what's for years. So that's the difficulty, because we have to change it and to create a new path. That's mean to speak up for herself. The same is required for men to speak up for himself, and it will be this discomfort. And then when we start to require some things, there will be a dynamic, there will be a change, there will be an emotional, it will happen something. So mostly we don't do that, even though we see it and we complain ourselves. Many women don't say it because yeah, I will just take this, and why? Because she better do it herself than have a conversation, 10 exchange of I don't know what, avoid the conflict. This is another thing. So that's why many women do that. Even though it's just a pair of underwear or a pair of pants, that says a lot. So that's how I'm seeing it. How we grow up, the patterns we create, and are we willing to change the road to the other direction? Speaking up.
And then a good partner should be able to realize he grew up like that and his mum did everything for him, and go, okay, I love you, I hear you, I respect you, and remind me when I forget to do it because I'm changing. So she's almost instigating a change of behavior in that relationship, and ideally both of them will learn from it and change. and say I just say I'm not interested, I'm not going to do it, it's your job. What what are the options there?
In my case, in my situation, if somebody says my job, then I will let him with that job to do it himself. Because I'm not his mommy. I will not wash his clothes. If I am a girlfriend, I'm not his wife either. I'm a girlfriend. So go and wash yourself your clothes. When I be a wife and you tell me that this is my job, then man, I will tell you what man's job is then. If men think that that's the woman's job, then men forget what is his job. Men don't need to have the expectation that the woman will clean after them, will make them food every time, will clean the table after them. No, he needs to be independent by himself. If my husband, let's say, will tell me that this is the job, I will have a really clear conversation because it's my husband. If you are willing to move forward in the best way, the way I'm moving forward, then we will learn how to do it. But if you tell me this is my job to do, my darling, I let you stay there with this job you tell me to do, and I take care of myself. That will be my way out of this. If there will not be any way to have a conversation and with willingness to move together. Because if you want to learn, I also want to learn. I don't say you need to be perfect, but to willing to make the best version of yourself, I will be there.
So it's all about putting yourself first, valuing and respecting yourself. And if the other person, doesn't matter who, if the other person isn't willing to play the game, then it comes down to consequences. What are you going to do, either of you? Whether it's business, as we said, with a relationship. Okay, so it's all about valuing yourself, isn't it?
Yes.
And
Yes.
but you are putting yourself at risk, aren't you? You are saying that's not okay. If you don't value me for who I am, what I believe, an outcome could be bye bye. It could
Yes.
be end of relationship. I'm not going to do business with you. I'm not going to be your friend. That sacrifice, how does that impact you, not short term, but medium term and long term?
I will learn more about and I will recognize more my worth. One of the things. I will see more what I don't want, what I want, because I see what I was going through is not what I want. So I will see more clearly what I want. And it will enrich me with another experience to know what I don't want to go into anymore. So it may seem like a risk. It may seem like a loss of something, but in the end is our own attachments and emotional, especially emotional attachments. When in reality is just a consciousness experiencing another consciousness. And if this consciousness is female, she wants to move forward, she wants to grow, but the male don't really want because he like the comfort zone, then of course it has to make the split. And what I find in myself, I will find more value. I give to myself more value by choosing this. Yes, a pair of pants can break up a relationship if there is showing that there is no respect and is expectation as such. So I choose me, myself. I acknowledge myself. I acknowledge my worth, self-love. So I see it a lot of gain into it in this specific situation.
I like that. So, is there just one type of boundary? Is it just a line in the sand and step over that and there are
Of
consequences?
course, if a pair of pants bring the situation up, of course there is space to be spoken, to make again agreements, if you want to call it, or whatever, to know that X, Y, Z. But if those agreements are not fulfilled, or its behavior, it shows disinterest, then we go to the next level. It may be because the more simple things shows actually where the values stand on people. The more simple things. We need to see it for a pair of socks or a pair of pants, how that's it is. Because of course, it's crazy to say we have 10 years of relationship and now you start to discuss because of pair of pants. Yeah, because in these 10 years I find out more about myself, I change myself, I level up, I have another value, I'm on another level, and I have to put it out on the table. Hear what it is. Are you agree with? No, okay, I'm going. If it makes sense.
I think that makes a lot of sense. It's usually the thing that is discussed is like the icing of the cake, isn't it? It's not the only thing. It is a representation of you actually disrespect me in all sorts of ways,
Yes.
and I think which is really important. I'm allowing you to do that because I'm disrespecting myself. I'm not standing up for myself. There's not that self-worth. Um, Certainly, looking at my perspective, I had no concept of boundaries, and I would let people walk all over me. I was also doing that. I think we've talked about codependency. If not, we certainly will do another time.
Mm.
Um, I was also doing it because I required that external validation. So, if I'm going to say please or don't do that anymore, I was terrified of that consequence of, okay, bye bye. Um,
Mm.
so it is, isn't it? It is self-respect, and it's beginning to believe in yourself. Um, yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like here is something to be understood. When the other partner is doing just with the fears that if I will not clean up after myself and she will get pissed off again, maybe we may end up. And if the partner are doing just because of that fear, then he don't understand anything. He don't understand the real situation. It has to be come from a place of really understanding the self-respect actually is coming from. And boundaries are coming from self-respect. Only people who respect themselves, they have more boundaries, more than usually. Because they know where they stand and they know what they allowed in. To come back to the pants and the connection and relationship. Man and woman. If don't listen the partner's request, what is necessary because she felt disrespected, and if he or she does it just because of the fear to not end up in an unpleasant situation, then it will live with fear of I need to clean up because it will jump on another story, you see, because the situation has to be understood that has to be respect, because as you said, the situation depends is just a minimum thing of the other big things. But sometimes for a woman can blow up just such a minimum things because it's filling up the cup with more other stuff. So men, especially men, have to be aware of it. I don't say women also have their own situation where press the button on men. This you can tell me. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And um, but there's all sorts of boundaries, isn't there? There's if someone is aggressive or someone's nasty, or I mean, particularly in the workplace where the boss piles on stuff. I mean, I'm just trying to make it less specific, but going back to rehab, we were they explained to us there are several types. One is the rigid one where if you do this, this is the outcome. Another
Mm.
one was flexible. So let's say we'll go back to the pants. your partner has had a really long week at work and he just leaves them down because, are you going to say, hey, I said you're fired if you pick them up, if you leave them? Are you going to say, hey, you're fired if you don't pick him up because he's tired, it's been a long week? So that's when you can have that little bit of flexibility. And I think that's quite important. This is actually why I struggle with the word boundary. I don't think it's the right word to describe it. It's because it's all about your own standpoint, isn't it? As you said, it's what's that self-respect. What am I prepared to stand up for? What am I prepared for you not to treat me? You being anybody. Yeah. So it is self-respect. It is just that self-love and saying no, and meaning it, and saying okay, and forgiving them when there's that mistake because we are human. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like a flexible. Somehow I see it because depends of the connections. Of course, when we say boundaries, I see like big fences, in front of us, which yes, that's a little bit extreme. We know the best what we allowed, what we can soften. We can feel, okay, that was a mistake. I got it. Okay, you see, it's understandable. And one thing is this, when we get angry for whatever things, it's also showing us that somebody overstepped the boundaries. That's also we have to pay attention. When is anger of being triggered? When is anger of coming something from the past? Where and when is anger where the boundaries of overstepping? Because sometimes we are not aware and we just get angry and we don't understand why. Something is an inner guidance again to tell you related with the boundaries. Your boundaries are overstepping. We are humans. For example, rigid boundaries when if you do X, this is the outcome. Yes, if you speak bad, dirty to me, that's it. We can flexible that boundaries with the girlfriend, husband, child, whatever is there, but we still have to keep it there, like to show it like a flag. Hey, here is my boundaries. It's okay to speak about it. And having this emotional intelligence to really take responsibility for your own emotions, but to also let space for this to move. Not to move to crush down, but to move to make it to see where it is, because we still learn even with the boundaries, to learn to be there on the playground, to put him to speaking, and then from there we have to feel into it. Yeah, I agree with you.
I think that's really important, and I think as well, looking back to my experience of it, I would get resentful when I was walked over, or when that didn't happen, and when that didn't happen, and I never said anything about it. So I just didn't. It wasn't worth the effort. On the one or two times I did, there were explosions, and I got resentful. I got so resentful, so angry, so furious. All these things just bubbled up, and I drank. That was the only way I knew how to cope with it. So I think as well, and that is probably the biggest level of lack of self-respect, is the drinking and the self-abuse from it. So if you're not going to have a concept of boundaries, a healthy boundary, you're doing yourself a terrible injustice, aren't you?
Oh, yes. It's showing to you yourself the respect. Where you stand. Where is your place in this world? What is your imprint in this life?
So it's taking responsibility for your life, isn't it?
Yes.
And that's another topic. That is another topic of, when I take responsibility, I am free of those chains of letting other people abuse me, but I have to be responsible. I have to be responsible for my actions and saying, hey, no, as you said,
Mm.
that is not okay. That is okay. It's taking that responsibility. It's empowering yourself, isn't it?
It's a huge empowerment. When we learn to put boundaries and we start to do it, you'll feel it how empowered you are. You feel like, hey, I can move mountains in my own life. Speaking, you can do big decisions because it's like you call your power back. You are agree with yourself that you matter. You are agree with yourself that my presence is important. I am worthy of many good things in this life. And boundaries is one of the things that's helping our ego to know, like, hey, this is mine and you don't come in. Or this is where it is. Until here you can come in. So again, it's like showing to ourselves something about ourselves. We protect ourselves. So boundary is showing self-respect, taking the power back, and acknowledge yourself and acknowledge yourself that you are important.
I also have noticed that closer friends, family members, and actually a lot of people, when I started putting them up, they've gone, wow, okay, well done you. And it's just like, what? They've actually respected the fact that I've stood up for myself because now they know, they now know what is okay and what's not. They don't have to second guess. They don't have to walk around on eggshells. I've just realized that. You're just saying you don't need to walk around on eggshells and try and guess what I mean because there's that line. Cross that line, and you're washing up for a week. So you're actually allowing other people. You're empowering other people, aren't you? Because they can then understand better who you are. You're no longer transparent or a chameleon, rather. You're becoming a real person.
Yes, and at the same time, you show an example. You show to them that, oh, I can also do that. Oh, he stood up for himself. Wow, great. I also can do that. So you also empower them to do that for themselves when you stand for yourself, especially with people that you know for a long time and suddenly you speak up for yourself. Whoa, congratulations, you level up, man. Yeah, you can level up too with me. you know, yeah,
Wow. It isn't it? You're daring to be brave, and right back to the boyfriend who leaves his clothes around. He's leveling up because he says, "Yes, sweetheart, I love you. I'm really sorry I'm a lazy slob. I won't do that anymore." He's leveling up. You're
exactly.
leveling up. You're growing with each other, or just as friends, or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you live with somebody that are willing to look on their own life, to grow up, you show an example by you being you, raw, authentic you. Say it what you feel and what you think. You actually help them. You show them the way. You show them that it's possible and that there's nothing wrong with it. Is nothing wrong to put boundaries to your own husband or your own child. Is nothing wrong. The things what is important to learn to communicate it, but not to put boundaries in anger and rage because suddenly you get full up. And then that was the point of your have to learn to communicate it. And you are an example in this case.
Yeah. You're doing it from that kindness. You're doing that from that, again, going back to that self-respect, and yeah, you're being vulnerable as well, aren't you? Because you're actually
Oh, yes.
saying, "I don't like that." You're opening up your heart and saying, "It hurts me when you do that. It
Yes.
upsets me. It makes me cross." You're having to give reasons, I suppose, not just no. That's not helpful. So you're having to articulate that upsets me when that happens.
Exactly. Have to say how you feel when the other person do or say secret. You have to say how you feel, not, oh, you make me this, or I feel this when you do that, or I feel that when you say that. You hurt me. I feel hurt by what you do and say. So again is pointing in you, how you feel, what you choose, what you accept, what you don't accept, and put it there, but from a place of kindness and understanding. Also the other one.
I really like that language. You're not blaming them. You're not saying you put those pants on the floor. It upsets me. So what?
Exact.
So what are you doing with that language? Go through that again because I think that's really, really important.
By communicating in this way, you give a chance to the other person to feel in themselves, because you are not blaming, you don't point at fingers, it's your fault. I don't say it's your fault, I say I feel this when you do X. If you love me and you don't want me to make me feel sad, so you may change that. So it's like to point out how you feel, what's going on here, instead of putting the fingers out and say you did, you made, you create, and all those, because then it's a accusation. The problem may trigger from the outside, but you have the right to speak up for yourself and say, I don't like this. This make me feel sad. This is so, I cannot accept it around me. So pointing inside you, because this is giving the opportunity to the other person to feel, to think, and to change. If they don't want, and but if they really care about you, they will start to think, hey, what I said, okay, what I done, what are the, okay, now I understand why he feels this way. Okay, let's change. So it's important when we put boundaries to don't blow outside, but to say how it feels inside. So we let them, and we open up the field for them to make a transformation.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. So you're encouraging. I mean, you're encouraging dialogue, aren't you? You're encouraging them to think about you and what matters to you, and on the assumption it's a friend, a lover, a parent, someone you connect with. You're just saying, I'm uncomfortable because of, rather than you done it. And then they're a friend, whatever, there's that relationship, whatever level, they're able to say, okay, I am a bit thoughtless or too bad. And then you can make you know where to go. But you're encouraging that dialogue to, as you said, evolve together and learn together.
Exactly. Yeah, to know where I'm standing, and then is open up to know where the other person is standing. As you say again, vulnerability. To be vulnerable, to open yourself. It's there. Yeah.
Again, it's. I'm not going to say it's so simple. It's incredibly scary. I think that's important to acknowledge. It is scary because you are having to look after yourself, a bit of self-respect, and you're having to break patterns, aren't you?
Yes, and that's scary. That's the scary part, to break the patterns, because suddenly we are not that person they knew that we are. And then it feels like we have to, it's like we have to stand against of that they think we are, but we are not. So so it's like feels like a fight, but you are showing up totally another person that they think you are. They are relating with you the person they know you are, but you have to push kind of this new identity of who you are. And that's scary because suddenly you twisting their own idea of who you are, and then they get confused who is this Hamish right now? Because he's not the way I am. And it's hard, yes. Speaking up and standing up for ourselves is not easy. To be ourselves, authentic 24/7 is not easy. Because we are an autopilot and we fulfill other people's expectation. But that's the hard stuff. To stand up for ourselves, to speak for ourselves, knowing that it may hurt the other person when we say what we really feel and what is really important for us. It may hurt the other person, but even though we have to choose, if that is not healthy for us, we have to choose to do that so.
Yeah.
And it's like go to fitness, train some biceps, and make them beautiful. The same is here. Expressing, talking, as we start with, how uncomfortable is that feels. When we transform ourselves and we go back and visit some old friends, let's say, but we are there totally a new person, new Hamish, new Juliana. When we step there with old friends, we may feel this like, woo, you are in and out. You are in and out like, oh, this is the new me observing them, and then, whoa, this is the old me who is playing the game. Oh, this is the new me. So you're really aware of these energies of like, hey, but this is not me, but I'm playing the old self, but this is not who I am. Again, his energy, everything. So it's hard because we have to stand in that authentic self. But in the beginning will be like, try to find the balance because it's, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So, beautiful heart. Thank you, Hamish, for talking about boundaries. And thank you for sharing with me your perspective of how you see boundaries. So, beautiful heart, boundaries is the most necessary we need to put them because it's not just protecting our mental health, but it's protecting us energetically and emotionally. With this also is empowering us and it's making us to take back our own power from situation or people only by easily and simple way standing up for ourselves, speaking up for ourselves, saying what's hurting you, even though you know they may not like that you say it or speak up. Even that, you have to be able to stand up for yourself because in this way, it's like training your muscles. It will become easier, it will become stronger, and with this, you will know your core values of who you are and what do you want in this life. So don't see boundaries as a bogey scary man. It's like a protection for your own well-being, if you want to call it like this. It's not selfish, it's also a part of self-love, self-respect, and self-acknowledgement. So put the boundaries when you feel discomfort and stand up for yourself. Thank you, beautiful hearts. And